Before I move to invite our esteemed guest speaker for today, may I request everyone just switch on your video. Let us take a group photo together. Let's take a online photo together. Yeah. So our admin, please help to take the group photo. Show your smile, put your face up, light light up your background. Make sure you are smile. Okay, we take a group photo together. Okay, let us take the photo. Yes, smile, smile again. Okay, smile again. All right, smile again. Okay. Well, all right. Yeah, still a lot. Not she's on the mic. Not she's on the video. All right, never mind. But at least your presence is still very welcome. Without further ado, let us call upon our Dr. Rashida binti Sheikh Rosli with her entire team for their presentation, including portal walkthrough on e-invoicing. Doctor, please.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Mr. Ng and also Mr. Cheng for organizing this session for LHDN to share some of the updates and also the implementation of this e-invoice in Malaysia. So as everyone is actually aware, I'm sure that around 300, more than 300 participant today is actually some of you may be new in terms of this e-invoice, some of you are already aware about this e-invoice implementation. So just bear with us. We still need to update some of the basic information first before we go into the portal walkthrough. So as Mr. Ng and Mr. Chen mentioned just now, we also will share the pigeonhole QR code. So you may scan the pigeonhole QR code after the end of the presentation because we want you to focus on the presentation first. Maybe whatever concern or question that you want to pose is actually will be explained throughout this presentation as well. So we will post the pigeonhole QR code. So hopefully everyone, whoever want to ask the question, will scan the QR code and ask through this pigeonhole QR code. So together with me is Cik Jihan, and I also have Cik Nick will present the portal, go through the portal walkthrough. Cik Adam and also Cik Jaafar will also assist us in terms of to answer the question because we have 300 participants today. I'm sure that there's a lot of questions that we may address today. So for that, I will pass to Cik Jihan to proceed with the presentation and then Nick for the portal walkthrough before we go to the panel session and also the Q&A session. Jihan?
Thank you. I believe somebody has taken over the sharing slide. Can we just get our slides back?
No, I think this is the
Yeah, I think someone else is, I mean, let us share our slide first. All right. So I hope my voice is quite clear to everyone here. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for making time to listen to today's talk on the discussion lah. We're gonna call it discussion on the implementation of invoice. Hold on, somebody keep on hijacking us. Hold on. Okay, so just to repeat, I mean, Miss Adam, my colleague Adam has already post this in the chat box, but I believe that everyone must have some sort of questions that they are the burning questions that they wanted to ask, but please hold that questions until end of the slides. We're going to share you the QR code and you can post the questions there. And then since there are about like more than 300 people in this room, I believe some of you probably have already listened or maybe hear the e-invoice seminar or talks from Hasil officers or any other professional organized events. But I do believe that we need to have some sort of introduction first, a brief introduction on e-invoice so that we are in the same page of understanding before we can move on to the live portal walkthrough. Yeah. So bear with me. it's going to be a very brief introduction. So I think we can move on to the next slide. Okay, so the journey, the e-invoice journey in Malaysia, we started at 2021, where we started with the conceptual framework. And in 2022, during the tabling of budget 2023, the government has announced that the e-invoice will be implemented in Malaysia. Somebody said that the slide is so small. Maybe you can adjust your view to get the slide view only and not the participants, yeah? So, um, so that is the first time that the government has expressed their intention to implement e-invoice in Malaysia. And further, in 2023, Lembaga Hasil started to issue the general guidelines followed by the specific guidelines. And in the tabling of budget 2024, the government announced that the e-invoice implementation will be accelerated with the first group to start implemented in 1st of August 2024. That will be the first phase of e-invoice implementation. So if you could see in 2024, we started the year with the addition of Section 82C of the Income Tax Act. And this section is actually, this provision requires for all persons and entities to actually submit e-invoice, electronic invoicing, to LHDN to get it validated in a manner prescribed by the LHDN. So there are also some exemption that we have listed out in our guidelines. You may check that one out later, okay? So and then in June we start to open the My Invoice portal, and it was officially launched in 31st of July, and 1st of August is the first date for the rollout date for our first group. It's for the taxpayers with annual turnover of more than 100 million. So the big company that they are going to go live. They did go live on the 1st of August. And accordingly, during the tabling of budget 2025, the government announced additional incentive for the accelerated capital allowance and for ICT and computer software purchases for good compliance taxpayers in invoice. And then towards the end of the year, we have also launched the mobile apps. So if you could see that there is actually that the government is quite steady and serious in terms of ensuring that e-invoice will be implemented in Malaysia. So starting this year, 1st of January, the second group, the phase 2, has go live on 1st of January. And we have also launched the Teen Search function, which can be found in the My Tax and also My Invoice. This is one of the steps that we are doing to help the taxpayers in terms of issuing e-invoice with with the correct information. And then we also have amended the Section 66A of the Income Tax Act, whereby this section actually prohibits any abuse of the Teen Search function. And then coming soon, we're going to have e-post pilot, which we have already launched this e-post system, but it's going to be open to the pilot company first. We expect that the third phase will start the mandatory timeline on the 1st of July before the last group, the phase 4, will start at 1st of January 2026. So in the next slide, I will talk about the 4 phases of mandatory time, the implementation timeline. So previously, if you guys noticed that we only have 3 phases before the government decided that the PMKS, the MSME, maybe will require some more time. So they split the phase 3 into 2, which is a phase 3 and phase 4, giving chances and more time to the phase 4 to start their timeline, the e-invoice implementation timeline, a little bit later. So if you look here, the phase 1, the 1st of August, they are for the taxpayers with annual turnover or revenue with more than 100 millions. And then the next category is for taxpayers with annual turnover from 25 million and up to 100 million. And then the third category is for taxpayers with annual turnover and revenue from 500 million and up to 25 million. And the last phase and the last category, this will be taxpayers with annual turnover or revenue up to 500 million. And kindly note that there is also an exemption given to some of the taxpayers, which I will explain later. And just to let you know that together with the mandatory implementation timeline, the government also has agreed to provide the grace period, the interim relaxation period of 6 months, starting from the date that these phases timeline started. So if you look at the box down there, you could see. So for the first phase, they're gonna enjoy the interim relaxation period from the 1st of August until 31st of January. So if you're wondering what this interim relaxation period is, what is it regarding about? So the next slide will tell you. So remember that your mandatory implementation timeline has started. Let's say if you are a phase 2 category, you have already started on the 1st of January, but you are going to enjoy the 6 month relaxation period, relaxation period for about 6 months from the date of 1st January until 30th of June. So within this period, what you can do is we are going to, LHDN allow for some flexibilities for all the consolidated invoice that you'll be issuing. So let's say, for example, during this 6 months, we allow issuance of consolidated invoice and consolidated self-bill invoice across all industries. So if you are aware that some of the industries, we do have about like 7 industries which does not allow for consolidation. However, during this period, semua boleh. You can do that. And then, according to the guideline, to issue this consolidated e-invoice, there is some methods or some requirements that is needed. Like, for example, you are required to put in the receipt number on the consolidated invoice. However, during this 6 months, we allow for any type of description to be input in the product or service description field. So, for example, in the guideline, based on the guideline, what you should do is actually you have to list out all the receipts that you have issued. But during this 6 months, you can just simply put it like maybe sales of January 2025. As simple as that. We still allow that during the 6 months of implementation timeline. And during this 6 month term, to give some time to taxpayers who maybe need more time to stabilize their systems, to prepare all their operation and stuff, we allow the suppliers to reject any request of invoice for individual transactions. And if you are able to follow all these the conditions that we have put forward, hasil, the lembaga hasil promised that there will be no compliance or maybe prosecution to the business under the section 120 of the Income Tax Act. Meaning that, in other words, like, so within these 6 months, although that is the mandatory timeline has already started, but so long that you can actually issue at least one consolidated invoice for all the receipts that you have issued, and all the one consolidated self-bill invoice for all the transactions, for all the self-bill transactions that you need to issue, you are good to go already. So because this is the time, the relaxation period time, where the government gives time for you to actually prepare yourself, do whatever you need to do with your system, check your or analyze back your operation, and to make sure that that by the end of the 6 month relaxation period, you can actually issue the e-invoice as per the guideline. Yeah. So so you don't have to worry about that. Although your time is coming, you can still use this relaxation period advantage, so that you can still follow the guideline. Okay. The next slide. Okay. So remember that I have mentioned about the exemption given to some of the in our guidelines. I just want to inform you here, because there are, I think it's in the paragraph 1.6 of the e-invoice guideline, we have already listed out all the people or persons who is actually exempted. Okay, so the government has agreed on last July 2024 that maybe PMKS need more support in terms of e-invoice implementation, and they give exemption to this MSMEs whose earning below RM 150,000. So they are not required to apply e-invoice provided they satisfy the exception here, meaning that if the taxpayers is a has non-individual shareholders and taxpayers is subsidiaries of holding companies and the taxpayers is a related companies, they are not exempted and they still need to issue e-invoice. Whereas if you are not under all these three categories, you can enjoy the exemptions of if your earning is below the 150,000. So when do they need to actually issue? I mean, does this exemption is forever ke? Okay, so it's actually we determine this based on the annual turnover. So if you have an audited account, it will be based on the revenue stated in the statement of comprehensive income in the audited financial statement. And if you're filing your income tax, it will be based on your tax return of the assessment year, and easily if you know that you have already, I mean, let's say if you starting your business and you have already get a job or a contract that is worth more than 150,000, definitely you know that you are not going to be exempted. So you can just right away preparing your business to implement this e-invoice. So when does this business, those who already enjoy the exemptions of 150,000, when do they have to do it? They have to do it on the second year, the 1st January of the second year, when their turnover or revenue exceed the threshold of 150,000. I have some example to ease our understanding on this. So I think we can go to the next slide. All right. So let's say, for example, kedai electronic smart gadget. So in 2025, the annual turnover is only 130,000. So exempted lah because it's lower than the threshold of 150,000 tadi. So they can just continue macam biasa. They can keep on, they don't need to implement the invoice. They are exempted lagi. So in 2026, come 2026, now the turnover has reached to 155,000, which is exceeding the threshold. Now, it's quite clear that this electronic smart gadget is not exempt to issue e-invoice. However, they don't need to start right away. They can prepare their system. They can start do preparations and maybe survey all the system or what methods of submission they want to use, so that they can start issuing e-invoice on the second year, 1st January on the second year, which is on 2028. So come 2027, the annual turnover now is 165. The invoice it's still not mandated yet, so don't have to worry. But starting from 1st of January 2028, kedai electronic smart gadget need to start with the e-invoice issuance. And now, come 2029, the annual turnover has decreased to 145,000, which is lower than the threshold. Now, there's no turning back, as the e-invoice system must already be in place at the time. So, kedai electronic smart gadget must continue issuing the e-invoice. Okay, no turning back. Teruskan je lah, jalan terus. So what is actually an e-invoice? Okay, if you think electronic invoice is something that anything that is electronic, meaning that if you receive a paper invoice and you scan it and then get it PDF, is actually considered as e-invoice, electronic invoice. I think that is quite a wrong concept to say, because I think in the LHDN view that the e-invoice is a structured format and we only accept the JSON or XML file. So if you look at the sample on the screen, the JSON and XML is very structured and it's like macam cacing a bit, right? It's not easy to look in the eye. So whatever that this the JSON XML file can be translated into a friendly user version, which we call the visual representation, the one that is printed out. Okay, the one you look at the right side, the visual representation is the one that normally that is printed out And the friendly user version is what we call the visual representation. So when we say that you have to submit the e-invoice to income tax to get it validated first, meaning that you need to submit the JSON or XML data file to income tax to get it validated. And then when we return it back to you, you can print it out in a friendly version, which is the visual representation, to be shared with your buyer. Okay. Somebody just send me a, a direct message that they need the slide, the soft copy slide. Actually, we have already shared the soft copy of the slide with the organizer. Maybe we can share with you later after this. Okay.
I think we can share out later. Don't worry. You all scan the QR code, join the learning group. There's a learning group we set up, so we can share that. All right. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Ng. So, okay, so in Malaysia, we adopt the CTC model. The CTC model gives the flexibility to the taxpayer to choose whatever method of submission that they are comfortable with. And in the meantime, it will give LHDN some sort of control to get it validated in real time. So there are actually two ways of submitting this e-invoice to us. You can use the My Invoice portal, and this is hosted for free by LHDN and is open to everyone. And the other method will be the API. The API, this is like a system-to-system integration, and definitely it requires some cost in terms of setting it up. And it more ideal for taxpayers who have like a substantial amount volume of amount to be input. However, LHDN did not limit that you can choose either one of this some method of submission. You can combine maybe some of the transactions that you want to use the My Invoice portal to issue. You could have your own API system to issue invoice. We allow that as well, so you don't have to worry. We allow this kind of flexibility as well. For those who are who intend to use the API, maybe they use a system. SDK is the dictionary for you to refer to. Okay, or maybe if you are taking in like maybe middle if you are taking the intermediaries ke ataupun middle software to do this e-invoice for you, they are probably quite familiar with this SDK. However, if you are trying to submit e-invoice via the My Invoice portal, there are also some actions that need to be taken before you can actually issue e-invoice in the My Invoice portal. You need to configure your first time login. You definitely, by using the My Invoice portal, the access is via My Tax. So subsequently, you need to also have some sort of access and also role application in the My Tax before you can do the My Invoice. So in the My Invoice portal, if you are planning to appoint intermediary or middle companies, so you can do that. You can register the ERP and also add intermediary in the My Invoice portal as well. So I think most of this will be explained later, because I heard from Mr. Ng, I mean from the Mr. Ng this morning, that many JMBs has not actually, I mean, they haven't started, I mean, they don't even have the number to begin with. So I think we can help that. So I will share with you on the later part of my presentation. So I think we can move on to the next slide. Okay. Now, maybe some of you is wondering, I keep on saying consolidated invoice lah, apalah semua tu kan. What is actually a consolidated invoice? So e-invoice is actually by request. So if your buyer does not request for invoice, you are allowed to consolidate all the receipts and issue one single consolidated invoice before the 7th day of the next month. Okay. So if you look at the slide, the flow is there. Like when there's a transactions happening, then the supplier, or in this case the JMB ke apa MC ke, they can just issue their receipts, their normal documents that they have been issuing so far. They can issue macam biasa. They can use and then by the end of the month or by before the 7th day of the next month, the supplier will need to issue one consolidated invoice that comprise all of these transactions that nobody asked for e-invoice before. Okay, just one. So it's kind of like and during this 6 month relaxation period, like I said, for all the you can issue one single. If for consolidated invoice by right in the guideline, you need to state all the receipts, the receipt number and everything. However, during the 6 month relaxation period, you can just simply put whatever info that what you want to put inside the field of description. Maybe you want to put rental for January. It's also acceptable at this point of time, so that people can actually familiarize with the system lah. Okay. However, please do note that that all the existing documents, you can still use it for the claim of tax deduction or tax relief, so long that it follows the requirement by the law, where this is actually if it's like a legit expenses of the business, you can still use the existing documentation. Okay, let me just okay. So remember that I said that there are not every activities can issue consolidated. So there are about 7 specific activities: automotive, aviation, construction, wholesalers, agent, dealers, and distributors, luxury goods, and these are still put on hold, and the license betting and gaming. So all these 7, they are not allowed to issue consolidated invoice. However, for JMB, MC, and JMB and MC management company, you are not within this categories, this specific industry, so you are allowed to do consolidated e-invoice. Okay, so what happened if your buyer? Oh, okay. I do have example here. So let's say in 11 September, Aina, Kas, and Tina, they bought smartphone from Kedai Electronic Smart Gadget, and all of them they did not request for invoice. So what Kedai Smart Gadget ni can do, Bobby ni, who was for Kedai Electronic Smart Gadget, they can total all receipts from the transactions who did not request, and then submit this as a consolidated invoice to LHDN before the 7th of October. Okay, so it's just one single invoice. Okay, and then the next slide, we are going to look if what happened if actually buyer request for invoice. So if buyer request for an invoice, then they were gonna need to give all their details so that supplier can issue e-invoice under their name. And then supplier will submit this info to LHDN, and we will get it validated, and this process will normally take about 2 seconds, less than 2 seconds. And then buyer can scan the QR code on the visual wraps to check whether that the transaction is already validated or not, and they can also check this from their own My Invoice portal. Okay, so for individual buyer, we give concession that they can either give their TIN number or My Card number. Okay, but if you are non-Malaysian individual, non-Malaysian buyer, if they are already in Malaysia long enough, they probably have their own TIN number, so they can provide their TIN number and passport number. So if they don't have a TIN number, you don't have to worry, because we do have a list of a general TIN number that we provide in the specific guideline. Maybe you can check that one out, that you can use with together with the passport number. Okay, this is such another example to ease our understanding. So Tina buys smartphones, and because maybe smartphone is one of the items that is included in the tax relief, so she wants an invoice for this one. So upon checkout, Bobby, the kedai itu, they get all the Tina's details and submit this to invoice to get it validated, and then Bobby will receive and then the validated and the validated e-invoice. Bobby will print it into a visual representation and share it with Tina, so that Tina can check it using the QR code lah, macam tadi. Okay. So I also would like to share that I understand that JMB and MC sometimes they are using the statement or bills on a periodic basis, and we would like to confirm that you can also use your statement or bills as your e-invoice as well. So the frequency will follow your frequency. Let's say, for example, if you have been issuing statement maybe quarterly every year, so you can do it. You can issue e-invoice based on this frequency, meaning quarterly, And whenever you issue the statement, there will be an e-invoice as well. Okay. And then remember that the e-invoice, the principle is that whoever gets the income, they are the one that's supposed to issue invoice. However, under certain circumstances, there will be a time where buyer will need to assume the role of the supplier to actually record this transaction. Okay, so the flow is kind of the same, where the buyer now need to get all the details to issue a self-bill invoice on behalf of the supplier. Okay, however, kindly note also that this self-bill invoice cannot be issued, like you can simply issue it for all expenses that you incurred. It's best to know that we only allow self-bill invoice issuance for all the transaction, limited to all the transactions that we have highlighted in section 8.3 of the specific guideline. If it's not under this list, if it's not under the list of the 8.3 punya, you cannot simply issue a self-bill invoice. Okay. Later, I think you can check this section 8.3 to actually understand what are the situations. But I do have one example on my next slide on the self-bill. Do we have it? Sorry about that. I don't have it. I think maybe to touch a little bit on the self bill. Let's say, for example, one of the situation where we allow for self bill is when there's a transaction between business and also um there's a transaction between business and also with a person who is not doing business. Jadi in that case, the business will take over the role of supplier. Okay, that one I think to for the benefit of time, because we're going to have like photo walkthrough later. So I think maybe we can move on to the next slide so that can okay, this is a thin search function. So I just want to say that you can actually access it through the MyTax portal, through the MyInvoice portal, or you can, if you're using the API, there's also the function to call it via the API as well. Okay. And then in the next slide, just want to share on the ecosystem. So we are going to have this ecosystem. So if there is any of you here that would like to join our ecosystem, you may go to to the nearest income tax office and request for it. Of course, there are some conditions to become our pilots. You can check that with our office, right? Okay. Just like what the Mr. Ng has said on the early presentation, some of this JMB, they don't even have PIN number to start to begin with. Okay, so what I'm going to show you is some procedure on how to apply the PIN number. Okay, first of all, you need to check whether is there any PIN number is registered to your JMB or MC first. Okay, you can do this by go to our MyTax and go to the e-daftar there. And then, okay, this is just a snapshot. When I did try to, just a random number, just a random number. When I tried to search the number, the registration number of JMB 01/23, it says that this has not been registered. So I can confirm that there is no TIN number being registered for this JMB. So I can proceed with the e-daftar. So then when you file up, okay, just this is just a list of documents that you need to be prepared in the process of getting your TIN application. So the first one will be the copy of the certificate of registration. So if you have the JMB registration certificates, you can use that number. And you can upload this one. And also you need a list of committee members' name, their identification number and residential address. You can just upload the file, and there's a limitation on the size and everything. You can just follow it and then try to and then go until end of the process, which is on the declaration. So I think once you've done this, you submit this, you will gonna hear from us about 3 to 5 days. I think most of the time, because now we have it's already automated. The TIN number is already some people get it about like 2 to 3 days. So if you have a problem, there will be there will be like a reference number so that you can refer or you can write an email to our Borang Portal Maklum Balas to check your status of TIN application. Okay, so that is just a very, I think, simple explanation on how to get the TIN number lah. Okay, so in order to use the My Invoice system, you need to be able to access the My Tax. I understand that people who's doing the e-invoice, they could be your staff, they could be your um they could be your staff, they could be your AJK, or they could be your treasurer, depending on it. And some of them probably has never ever has access to My Tax yet. Like, so for example, your staff, they could probably their salary is maybe not I mean, they has not reached until the threshold that the PCB will be deducted, so they have never filed in their income tax. Okay, so it is important for, I mean, to understand that all citizens of Malaysia more than 100 more than 18 years old, more than 100 pula, more than 18 years old, they are already assigned to a TIN number. Okay, so what you have to do is check your TIN number, go to the e-daftar, check your TIN number, and try to enter to access the MyTax first to get your digital digital certification to be valid first before you can actually use the My Invoice portal. Okay, I think this is one of the point where most of the they provide access to their staff to actually do invoice for them. However, their staff are not able to do it because they have never filed in their income tax yet. So remember that whenever, if your staff is already they probably have their OT number, however they have never access to the MyTax, get them to open the MyTax portal and start the first time login so that they can actually access these digital certificates first. Okay, then only we can move on to the next process. All right. Now you have already get your TIN number and maybe all of the stuff and already access the MyTax. Okay, so for to get into this for to actually issue e-invoice under the organization name, let's say for this JMB name, you must first have an active director. So there is only one active director at a time. So who can be this director, this active director? Normally, it will be the president or the treasury, whoever who has the top management, who got the authority. It will be also be helpful if you can put this into writing and during the AGM that who is the person that is that will be appointed as the director to do this e-invoice implementation. So let's say we appoint the president to be the director. So the president will need to access the MyTax, their individual MyTax account. Okay, and then in the can you just hover, back to this, but I need can you hover the yes to the profile. To that, this okay, cool. If it's a bit small, but I asked my colleague to hover the cursor to the profile button there. So you go inside your MyTax, the president need to go inside the MyTax individual profile and click on the profile button there. Okay, if you click that button, it will go to this paparan lah. So click on the role application tab and then select the new application from the drop-down list and choose the directors of the company. Okay, you can choose this one. All right. And then in the role application, you need to put in the TIN number of the company organization. So in this case, since you have already got the TIN number for JMB, so you can put it here. And then you need to upload a copy of supporting documents, such as in this case will be the certificate of registration and the list of committee members' name to show that you are the president and you are the correct person, the authorized person to request for director role for this organization. So let's say, for example, somebody else is going to do it other than president, probably the treasury or probably the secretary. They can also upload appointment letter by the president that stating that this person is acting on behalf of the president to be the directors for this one. So you need to put in the documentation here, okay, so that we know that you are the authorized person to be the directors for this organization. And then you can click on the disclaimer and click submit. All right. Okay. So if the rules application is being approved, dia akan appear like this one lah. So if you have many organization, maybe you have your own company as well, you boleh nampak from here lah. And also once your terms as a president or director is finished, up, maybe you want to terminate yourself, you can do also, there's a terminate button there, so that the next person will be appointed as a director can apply for the director role as well. So remember, only one active director at a time can actually apply for this role of directors. Okay, all right. Now, I understand that if you are the president, you are not going to be the only one issuing invoice. You're going to have to delegate this to your representative as well. So as a company director, you can appoint your representative, and there's no limit number on how many people you can appoint. If your company ada 50 orang, you can appoint all 50. Doesn't matter. But the first one, the company director, must be the role of the director must be appointed first before this director can appoint their representative lah. Okay. So if you want to, I'm just going to share with you on the process on how to appoint the representative. Can we back the slide? Yeah. So as a director, you're going to enter my tax on an individual. So if you look at the number one there, click on role selection. So definitely you started from individual. When you click the role selection, the white box will pop up. So if you have many companies, you need to choose which company you are trying to select the representative. So in this case, let's say kita nak guna this my invoice Berhad. So we're gonna select this role as a company director, and then we go into the next profile, and you can see that the profile now is changed. It's not an individual now. It's in an organization profile now. So you click on the profile button at the right hand corner, at the top right hand corner there. Okay, there's a tab for click on appointment of representative. Okay, and then you can choose your ID type. You can use your staff ID, passport, or even TIN number. So let's say in this case, we want to use the TIN number to be so I'm going to put in TIN number, and we insert the TIN, and then the taxpayer name will display. So you can click submit and choose this person as your representative. So there's no limit. You can appoint as many as representative that you want lah. Okay. So now is on how to access my invoice. Okay, once you now we have already dah ada nombor TIN. You already got your TIN number. You have already appoint the director and appoint the representative. And now how do you and your representative access this my invoice? Okay, from the my tax portal, you put in your ID. Okay, and then you will enter into this my tax paparan, my tax view. Okay, at the top there, if there's a my invoice tab button. Okay, you can click the my invoice. So everybody will access the my invoice through their my tax portal. That's why I mentioned that everyone need to have an access to the my tax first before they can actually do the invoice. Okay. So once you click the My Invoice as a first time user, you need to do the provisioning first. Okay, this is there's a terms and conditions you can read through. So at the end of the page, there is a checkbox button there. Check on the accept terms and conditions, and you can click continue. All right. And then this will be the taxpayer profile. The one in the gray area is actually that kind of information is extracted from your borang cukai, so you are not able to change it. But there's also like you can choose your notification, and also you can update your address as well. Okay. And yeah, this part here is also included in the slide, so you can get it from the slide. All right. So if you are done, you can update the notification. And if you are done, you can just go to the next. And this is user profile. You can still change of the language. There are also the one that is pre-filled is not you will not be able to change it. Okay. And you can go to the next one. All right. So once your registration complete, this means you have done your provision in the My Invoice portal. With this, you can also access the My Invoice apps if you are using the device lah, macam smartphone ke apa. So I think from here on, I will pass to my colleague Nick, as he's going to show you live on the portal walkthrough. So to at least show you on how to issue the individual invoice and consolidated invoice. Okay, cool. Okay. I can. I also would like to remind everyone that hold your question first and ask it in the pigeonhole, because it will be much easier uh to monitor the questions.
Oh,
All right, Mr. Nick, if you are ready.
okay. Hold on. Okay, hi, everybody. I hope my voice is clear. Okay, I just would like to continue the presentation uh, for this morning. And just now, as mentioned by Miss Jehan, that the TIN number is already assigned, and also the director of the organization, and also the director of the company, and also the representative. Now I'm going to show you the main My Invoice portal, where this is the main page of the My Invoice portal, and for each individual who log in into My Tax and also My Invoice portal, will see this home page. And also, as you notice, there's a profile on the right side, on the top right side. Then this is actually an individual profile. And if you wish to change to your organization profile, you can just do so in Switch Taxpayer. Okay, from here, you just click the Switch Taxpayer and choose from the drop-down list. And as for this example, I choose just now, I was assigned as a director for My Invoice, Sdn Berhad. So I choose My Invoice, Sdn Berhad, and click switch. Okay. As you can see just now that before this, you are in the individual profile. But now I've already changed to company or organization profile. This is to confirm by click on the view taxpayer profile. as for this demo, so I'll be using a pre-prod environment. So the taxpayer name will be sanitized. Okay. For taxpayer profile, there are a few information that is already as what you registered earlier. So there are general information of your name, TIN, ID type, ID number, MSIC code, and etc. Also the address and okay. For this general information, you can also update and edit by click on the edit button at the right hand side, and there are address that you can update, and also the email address, telephone number, and also the SST and tourism tax. Okay, once you have update the information, you can just click save. Right? Okay. So on this taxpayer profile also there is a QR code available for you. Actually this QR code contains all the information such in general information and also in notification details. Okay. So this QR code can be downloaded and save in your PC or in your device, and can be used to present it to your supplier to obtain your your details lah. So that in order for you to acquire an invoice, you don't have to give all your personal details in hand form, and you just give your QR code and they can just scan, and the information will be auto populate in their e-invoices. Okay. Next is the representative, whereby for also in this taxpayer profile, there are three type of representative, which is one is the user, which is as explained by Ms. Jehan before this. There are they might be a staff that actually representing the organization in issuing the e-invoice. So to do that, to initiate that is supposed to be done in my text, and also it will appear here in the user representative in my invoice. So the list of appointed representative will be displayed here in the taxpayer profile, which is the company's profile. And also in the representative part, there is also a ERP. Okay, ERP is actually a system for any organization that already have their own system to integrate to our My Invoice portal by using API. So to do that, this is our ERP, the director who has already accessed this My Invoice portal, so they can generate the client ID and client secret. So this client ID, client secret is actually a code for you to integrate from your system to our My Invoice portal. So in order to do to create the client ID and client secret, firstly you have to click on the register ERP. So for in order to add the ERP system, you can just create any name that that required. So for this, maybe just a test and also expiration. So okay, then you just can click on this, and the client ID and client secret will be automatic generate, and you can use this client ID and client secret to integrate to our My Invoice portal. Okay, so then after you have clicked done, so it will appear here. It will be listed in the list of ERP. Okay, and also there is also intermediaries, where intermediaries is actually in a company which will that will issue the e-invoice on behalf of the company. So the difference between ERP and intermediaries is that ERP will be managed and issued by the company itself. But however, for intermediaries, there is another company or the third party or the service provider which will be act on behalf of the company. So to add the intermediaries is for you to click on the add intermediary button. Somehow you have to obtain the TIN number, the BRN, also the taxpayer or the company, the intermediaries company's name, and fill in the captcha value, and also you can continue in adding the intermediary company. Once it is added up, so the intermediary company will be listed in the intermediaries section. Okay, for this sample example, so you can see from in this list, the intermediaries is already appointed from for this company. There are 3 here. Okay. So this is basically the on the taxpayer profile. What are the features that is in the taxpayer profile and what you can do and generate from the taxpayer profile. Okay. Next is for me to show is on how to issue an invoice. Okay. Firstly, you can just click on the new document. Okay, before that, I think I'm hold on, yeah. Can just go to the text profile again. Okay, on the representative, the individual who represents your company, the director has the ability to give the representative a permission. Depends on type of task that is already given. So for this example, you can see that there are few tasks that is already given for this representative, which is submit, cancel, reject. And if you want that particular representative not to submit for the e-invoice, you can just turn off the button and click save lah. Okay. And you can apply all the function here and click save, and automatically the representative will only have the ability based on the permission given by the director. Okay, now back to the issuance of e-invoice. Okay, firstly now you can, as you can see, you can just click on the new document and click on the type of document. Listed here, you can see that there's a invoice, credit note, debit note, refund note, and also self-built document, self-built document lah. So for today, this morning, so the demo will show on issuance of invoice lah. Okay, you can just choose invoice as type of document and click start. And also there's a basic information as for in invoice code. For this one is auto generated. However, it can be override and fill in with any of your maybe you have your own reference number that is already running besides using out of the invoice system lah. So you can just if you have that, so maybe you can just add example for this lah. For this unit, so I can just put basic information as JMB April B112. Okay, so next is click continue. Okay, now is the part where you need to fill in all the the supplier and buyer information. Okay, for the supplier is for invoice, the supplier part is your information that taken from the taxpayer profile, your profile. So it will be auto populate here on the supplier side. While from the buyer side, there is a option for you to choose for the ID type. Let's say a business registration number, or for example, today I try to use passport number lah. Right. And okay, I understand that maybe sometimes if you hard to find, you can't find any information on the tin that for a certain individual or company that have you can't find the tin, you can try to search, try using this search tin and choose either uh, individuals or other than individuals lah. So for this, you can just use individuals and choose, let's say, passport type. So I just show you the search. So as for this one, you can see that the TIN number will appear here, and you can, for my invoice purposes, you can just copy lah. Copy, then you can just try to, you can direct paste here. Just now I search for, sorry. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then straight away you can validate. Okay. So for all the mandatory name, you can just put John. Oh, oh. Country you can choose Malaysia, and state you can choose from here. Okay. Next is for you to click on continue, and this is the transaction information that you need to key in. So for the example here, you just click on line term. For classification code, as for this transaction, I try to use 022, which is others. For example, parking rental of April, and quantity 1 unit. You can search, or you can just click. Let's say 2050. And there's also a text. If it's not applicable, just click on not applicable, and you just can add. So your first transaction will be displayed here. And if you would like to edit, you just double click on the line item and will appear again lah. So let's say this one is, okay, click save. And to add another transaction, for example, you can just add another line. And put a description here. And your second transaction will appear on the second line lah. Okay, once you are done with the transaction, you can just click continue. And this is the additional information where there is no, if you need the information, you can just fill in lah. So there is a frequent of billing information, payment and prepayment, shipping information, import, export information. If it's not related, you can just continue to the summary and submit. Okay, for this part, you can see the summary for your transaction or your e-invoice. Okay, so the transaction will be show the supplier information, the buyer information that you already key in, and also your transaction for that particular invoice and the amount that need to be the paid, which is the total payable amount, and also the additional information. Okay, once you verified that is good, so you can just sign and submit. Okay, so just now for sign and submit, you can see here that this document is signed on behalf of my invoice Syndrome Berhad, which is just now I, as a data writer, will issue the invoice on behalf of my invoice Syndrome Berhad. So for you to submit, so you need to key in your credentials. Sorry, passport number. Okay. Okay, once the invoice is the document is submitted, so you can just click on the link show on the screen, and it will lead you to the document menu. So the one that you have submitted just now will be listed here, and you can just click here and that the status here is valid. So it means that the whole transaction here is already validated by LHDN and is complete. Okay. So the e-invoice now can be seen inside the documents list, which is going to be going to display here lah. Just now, so you can just click on the UUID for each transaction or validated, and any document that is submitted will be given a unique ID, which is called a UUID. And for the UUID, you can just click on it, and it will direct you to the e-invoice, that particular invoice. So for this transaction, you can find the printable layout of the e-invoice. So this is the printable view of the e-invoice that you have submitted just now. Okay, so and for print preview and the print function is only available for issuance from the portal. In for ERP or ERP user, or it is only available from the submit from the supplier side. It can print here, but it will listed in here for in whatever transaction is either from the My Invoice portal or ERP, it will be listed here. For the e-invoice that you issue or you submit will be appear in this section, which is submitted. while the e-invoice that you receive, you as a buyer, then you receive from the supplier will appear in receive section. Okay. All right. So what is the function? Here you can see on the top right there is a cancel button. For supplier who finds that the invoice submitted there is a error for each for the transaction, you can just cancel the document within 72 hours. Okay. Reason of cancellation is wrong supplier and you can just key in anything lah. Okay, so once you fill in, the initial cancellation will appear and enable, and you can just click for cancellation. While the buyer who actually receive the this document will appear. I show you. Okay, this is an example for another transaction. For buyer, there is another button for you to reject. Okay, where buyer, if they find that the e-invoice is there is an error, such as the amount or any information which is not related, so they can request for rejection. Then the button also will be appear up here lah. So once you request for rejection, to take the action of cancellation will be on the buyer side, not the the supplier side. I mean the company who issue the e-invoice. That party only can cancel the e-invoice, not the buyer. The buyer only can request for the document to be cancelled, but they can't cancel lah. Alright. Okay. Just now is a normal document. I mean normal issuance of e-invoice. Okay. So now I can show you another type of document which is a credit note. Credit note is the difference here is only on the first part here. Okay, hold on. Okay. Actually, I need to copy this. Okay, for credit note, you can refer to the original e-invoice reference number, which is the UUID. Just now I've copied the UUID from the previous issued e-invoice, so I just can just paste here and click find. So the system will find the previous e-invoice for you to make a credit note on referring to the previous e-invoice. So you just click on it, then the information will appear here. Okay. So next is to continue. Okay, as you can see, when you refer to certain e-invoice by placing the UUID, so you can see that all the information supplier and buyer be auto-populate lah. Which is from the supplier here and also the buyer side will be populate, and you just can click continue and add in all the information, all the transaction related to it lah. So the rest of the part will be the same from the I've showed previous invoice. Is the different for notes or credit notes, debit notes, and also refund note is just this part, the reference number, and also the functionality of the automated supplier and buyer information. Okay, so this is the basic credit note and also refund note. Next is for me to show is consolidated e-invoice. Okay. Okay, if you find here on the document, this one is the one that I've already submitted. But I wish to use the same e-invoice, so I can just click on the three button and copy as draft. Okay, so when you click copy as draft, it can automatically regenerate another invoice from the same information here. The supplier, the buyer, it will be the same because it just take from the previous submission. So this quite useful function. So you can just click continue. The information for the classification, for the transaction also will be auto. So for consolidated e-invoice, there's a different here on the buyer side where okay, sorry, for copy as draft, the information for ID type can't be changed. It will take all the information here in the supplier and buyer. So for consolidate e-invoice, I will try to create a new document, a fresh new document. So I click on e-invoice, click start, and I just click continue. And for ID type, for consolidated e-invoice, try to use business registration number and NA for the registration number. The TIN number, I will use EI, the general public. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 1, 0. Validate. And for name, you can just put console much fun. And for NA, is not related, you can just put NA here, and all the field here will be disabled.
Yeah, excuse me, Mr. Jihan.
Yes, Mr. Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'm Mr. Cheng. I'm one of the co-hosts, and because we are much more, I believe that those participants here, they are here for the Q&A session, which we are very doubtful. Maybe actually, we can arrange another. Maybe I'm going to come to your office, and let's make something different for this, because after you explaining, they might forget, but we need something to make them remember, right? So maybe can we skip this session and let's go into the Q&A.
Yeah, okay. We noted on that. But can
So
let us just
afterwards, we're going to discuss with you privately about, to meet up another session for the rest of this. We can take a video or whatever. We will help the industry. Let's work hand in hand. We help the industry to move forward smoothly and launch this e-invoicing.
yeah, I understand that, but let us finish first the important one, and then
for
we
this
will
session.
continue to handle the question because we received the questions. We still will answer all the questions. No worries about that. We just finish a bit. Yeah. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, let me continue a bit. All right. For this transaction is for consolidated e-invoice. So just now I've keyed in all the information such on the registration, the that should be used, and also the address that should be used lah. So okay, the most important part is here on the classification line item, where the line details that should be put here is consolidated e-invoice. Okay, for here, let's say March 2025. Sorry, March 2025. So you can key in the receipt number that you have issued out of e-invoice. So such as 1001, 1010. Okay. The total amount of the 10 receipt is, let's say, 100 unit. So 100 each. Sorry. The total of the receipt is 100, and this is not applicable. You can add. Okay, just now I've showed that this one is the first group of receipt that have already issued. Then for, let's say, there's another group. So let's say March 5, receipt 1011 until 1021. This is the total amount for the for this batch, this batch of receipt. So you just can add up for 200 ml to 150 and click not applicable. Then you just can add. So for this consolidated, it can be done this way lah, by separating the receipt number, and you just can click continue. So the rest of the process is the same. Additional information, summary and submit. You can just sign and submit. The difference for consolidated is just on the supplier, on the buyer side, the information for invoice, and also the line item that need to be put here is 004 for the classification code. So the rest is the same. So I think hold on, yeah. Okay. Hold on. Okay, so I think that is all from me. I've done the e-invoice, so I've explained the credit note and also the function of the taxpayer profile, and also the important of classification code 004 with the issuance of consolidated e-invoice. So thank you so much. So I'll pass to Jen or Doctor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cik Jihan and Suji, for the presentation just now. So as we discussed with the organizer, Mr. Ng, just now, we will share the top 20 questions that being addressed and being posed to the organizer. And after that, we will look into the pigeonhole for the Q&A, the questions that been posed by the participants today. We have around 400 plus participants today. Appreciate if anyone who posts the question to the chat will copy the question and post to the pigeonhole, or else we cannot just scroll and to look at the questions again. Okay, so Adam will share the slides that has been shared by the associations, and we try to answer and provide the feedback to you as well. Okay, so for the first questions that being addressed is actually being addressed to the presentation just now, but we could also update again. Who can update e-Kemas Kini when the chairman resign as the main controller and during the key office bearers appointment transition period? What are the procedures and also the document need to be submitted to LHDN, whether it is a minute of meetings, AGM minutes of meetings, or the specific guide that does LHDN require for the acknowledgement and this verification? This question is actually regarding the
Yeah, maybe let me illustrate to you the normal the no what the normal situation that would happen. First thing is because JMB MC always change every year, and then secondly is sometimes the chairman they're having a fight in between. So what if the existing chairman refuse to release, you know, and then who is going to be the one that who reassign this position of chairman?
Okay. So
This
yes.
will affect the submission of the e-invoice.
Yes,
You
okay.
know,
There's are two things. First is the my tax. You need to assign the role of the director through the my tax, and we understand the scenarios that happen for the JMB. There's the change of the director, the change of the chairman or the persons frequently. So there is a requirement to update to the my tax. So in the normal way, it's actually the previous director or the current director need to terminate their role first before the new director can come in to appoint as a director, to appoint their role as a director.
as a
But
committee member, as a chairman. Yeah.
yeah, is the chairman or the committee member, whoever given this role. But if the old director, you mentioned that previous director reluctant to terminate himself or herself as a director, you can email to LHDN. So we will do the terminations, and then the new director that being appointed need to update and also to assign the role as a director. The documentation is same as what Jihan has mentioned just now. They need to update the documentation, the certificates of the organization, and also the new list of the appointment as well.
So another situation is, the after the AGM, we are still in this question is number one. After the AGM, the new director or the new MC is already onboarding, but we cannot get the certificate in maybe 1 or 2 months' time.
Means that the certificate of the
The new list of committee member or the certificate or the new list of committee member has to be certified by the local authority. So within this transition period, when the old or the outgoing management corporations is already stepped down, I don't think they want to hold this responsibility. If they don't want to hold this responsibility, there will be a vacuum in between 1 or 2 months' time.
Correct.
So,
For the question,
ah.
I think during this period of time, when the AGM already done and the AGM already decided to pick the appoint new chairman, new secretary, or new treasurer, you can use that minutes, the means that the 3 minutes to submit to us. And
so y'all can do before the COP or the local authority issue the letter that to recognize.
yes, correct.
So that
That's
great.
The minutes from the AGM itself to
Yes.
to do the update process information in our records.
Yes, yes. Then the second question will be the office barrier. There are 3 office barrier instead of 1 president or the CEO of the company or the chairman of the director board. Can we register 3 as a MyTax, JMB or MC as a main controller simultaneously? Instead of the chairman is the one that will control, then the secretary and the treasurer. Can we do it in 3?
For the main role, for the main director, only one person will be assigned as a director. But as mentioned just now to the presentation, there will be there is also allowed to appoint the representative. So you can appoint the secretary and also the treasurer as the representative. That one is through the MyTax. But once you log in to the My Invoice portal, there is no restriction in term of number, in term of role that you can provide. You can allow to access to the My Invoice portal to perform any actions or obligation for this e-invoice requirement.
Also,
So how
if
about yeah, continue.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So if also if you want to add like for example, you don't want the president to be the active director. You wanted maybe the treasurer or probably the secretary to be the one who's holding the director's role, then you can do that. It doesn't matter. Any appointed person, so long as there will be like an appointment letter saying that this AJK ataupun this treasurer is going to be the one who's going to hold the director's role for this one. That one is
Yeah,
also allowable.
Yeah. To repeat the answer from you guys that somebody posted in the comment in the what in the chat room that let me repeat it, and then if it is okay, if it's correct, then you say just correct. Let's make it faster. Which means that when after the AGM, even though we don't need to wait for the COB to recognize the list of the committee, we can immediately submit to the LHDN portal to change the MC, right?
To Kemaskini, yes.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
If
Okay.
they-
Mandy, I hope that this will answer your questions. That you maybe you miss out or you can't hear it from that just now because it's a bit smooth. Let's go to the question 3, the part 2, which is
The same
what the
the
appointment
questions.
appointment
Yeah, I think
appointment of the MA to take charge of the my tax portal. Is it
this is
okay?
yeah, this one is already addressed just now. Means that if you want someone else, like the secretary or treasurer, to become a main controller, only one person will be appointed or can apply as a role of the director or the administrator. But they also can appoint the others as a representative
So
in the
I think
MyTax portal. Yeah, but what
question
they
number 4 already answered,
Okay,
right? We
just to add
can.
on, sorry, so, just to add on, this one is through portal. So there is a person who have the role as a director. They can log into the My Invoice portal once they appoint as a role in the My Tax. And when they go through the My Invoice portal, they can appoint as many representative on to have the role to issue this e-invoice.
So maybe the question number 4 we can skip because just now already mentioned we can appoint multiple representative, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So let's go to the question number 5. We are trying to speed up and then answer as many questions as possible. So sorry for for stressing you guys. So the
No,
question number 5 is what are the difference?
I just wanted to make it clear, even though they asked the question. So some of the questions is actually redundant. They ask the same question, so we should
Yes.
have clear regarding the
We will
answer.
skip. We will skip. So what are the differences between intermediary and ERP in my tax portal?
Okay, ERP is a system, so the information regarding the system that using by the JMB or the MC, so they will update through the ERP information, and intermediary is the one who be appointed as a third party to issue or to implement this e-invoice on behalf of the JMB or MC.
So
So
the second part of the question will be which one will be synchronizing, which is the ERP, right? If we are going to connect, which is going to
yes,
be the ERP,
one
right?
who if they want to have a direct integrations, means that the JMB or MC, they have the system and they will directly integrate with my invoice system. The one is the ERP. But if they ask someone else as a third party, as the intermediaries, as a service provider, then they should update through the intermediaries.
So okay, so what are the correct steps to link system with JMB and MC in my invoice? Which means we can choose either ERP, which is the system to connect with my tax, and then do direct integrations and whatever we have done activities, we can directly link to the my tax portal, right?
Okay, Nick here. Okay, regarding ERP and also the intermediaries. For ERP, let's say, for example, JMB A have their own invoice portal. So they have to generate their own client ID and client secret and use that client ID, client secret in their ERP and integrate with our My Invoice portal. Somehow, for intermediaries, they have to generate their own client ID and client secret. And for the integration, they have to use their own client ID and client secret for the connection between the intermediaries ERP to our My Invoice portal. So that is
Okay.
the difference.
Yeah. Which means that they are either one system or two systems. That's all. Right?
It's either you use your own ERP, your own system, or you appoint another a third party who going to use their own ERP system and the integration and the client ID and client secret will
Yeah.
be use their lah. So both also can be implement in for one organization or one JMB lah.
Yeah. So question number 6 is a bit technical because we right now we are not the whole Malaysia enjoying the same or regulated under the same Strata Management Act. Now the question number 6 is the residents with formation of JMB, MC, or during the developers phase. How are we going to register for TIN number and implement?
Okay, the responsibility is based on the role. For example, when you start the development, it should be under the developer. So at that time, before the establishment of the JMB, so the developer are responsible to issue e-invoice for any transactions related. So once they do the JMB. So the JMB team will be used for the issuance. And once they form the MC after the end of the session of the JMB, so the MC is responsible. So it doesn't matter even in Sabah, based on the land subsidiary title enactment 1972, it doesn't allow the formation of JMB. So from developer straight to the MC. So it based on their role. If there's the roles of the in charge, the developer is in charge, so the developer team will be used. And once they hand over to the MC, so it will be continue with the MC team for the issuance of any transactions related.
Yeah, thanks for a very clear illustrations. Next, go to the question number 7. This one is the always happen to those we call it micro strata projects, which the threshold maybe they are below the total collections below 100,000 even though, but after maybe 10 or after 5 or 10 years, they need to call for extra funds to repaint or to do the major repairing, which might exceed 150,000 just for the particular month or particular year or particular month. So, but do you have any specific like income items that own which means 150,000 the minimum will be based on what are the items?
Okay, so the determination of the threshold is actually same for all the taxpayer, regardless of their industries or their activities. So it based on the taxpayers with the audited financial statement. It is based on their annual turnover revenue, which is stated in the statement of account of comprehensive income in the audited financial statements. And taxpayer without the audited financial statement, it is based on the annual revenue reported in the tax return for the year of the assessment. So basically, it is a total of their annual revenue and turnover for the relevant year. So once they reach the 150,000, means that you mentioned that it is based on year, it is not based on month. Based on year is, let's say 2025, the income is actually exceeding 150,000, and the next following year maybe the total income is less than 150,000. But once their income of the particular year reach more than 150,000 annually, they will impact by 1st January of the second year. So like example just now, 2025, their annual turnover revenue reached 150,000. So the date of the implementation, the mandatory implementation will be 1st January 2027. So whatever income is less than 150,000 after the 2025, it considered they need to continue to implement e-invoice onwards.
So what if 2024 or 2023?
Means that they are not reached 150,000. They're currently exempted.
For example, maybe 2023 exceeding 150, 2024 is about 120, 2025, 2026, until the following 10 years, it's going to be 120.
So means that once they reach 150,000, they have 2 years before they start implement as a mandatory basis. 1st January, if you said that just now 2023, so you should implement by 1st January 2026.
Yeah. So how about is there any timeline like before 2023, or it applies to whatever records for the last 10 years?
Yeah, because the basic concept is actually based on the year assessment 2022. That's the determination of the implementation. So means that after the announcement, if the income of the taxpayers is less than 150,000, they're currently exempted. So you look at the current year, if like now is 2025, if the current year 2025 they still not reached, they are continue exempted. But once they reach 150,000, they have 2 years for them to do the preparation 1st January for the second year before they implement this e-invoice as a voluntary basis. And then once they implement, will continue to implement it onwards.
It's not about a threshold. It's not about a threshold. Actually, what we mentioned is not about threshold. It's the item.
No, it's based on the threshold. It's based on the total annual turnover revenue.
So, which means, Ang Nui Kiang, your answer, your question is answered. They don't care. They just want to know how much you bill. The LHDN is based on how much billing you bill. It's not based on how much maintenance charges you bill. Include all the fines and am I correct? If include all the fines, all the rental of a small like facilities, as well as exceeding 150,000, we will have to implement e-invoice.
Yeah, it's based on how you report the
income, the so-called income, the total income.
Correct.
No, and then I have to emphasize that am I right if I say deposits are not considered an income?
Deposit is not an income.
Yes, yeah, because recently we have this challenge of so-called explaining what is deposit.
Yeah, but again, if it's like, I think we have included this in our FAQ. If it's a refundable deposit, then there will be no invoice issued. However, it's a non-refundable deposits, then you're going to have to issue invoice for that one.
So maybe somebody asked those are not taxable. E-invoice and taxable are not related, right?
Yes, it's a two different thing. I think there's also a main thing that will be asked by the JMB and so on, because their concerns is like, I think there is a question number 10, where the question is, they are non-profit organizations, body, and also the management fee and also the sinking fund is not taxable. So maybe I can just explain that this taxability of the income and also the implementation of e-invoice is two separate obligation under the Income Tax Act
Yeah.
1967. Regardless of this income received by the JMB or MC or RA, which is maintenance fee and also the sinking fund, are exempted from the income tax under section 53A of the Income Tax Act. Is actually does not exempt or preclude that this JMB MC may still generate income from other source, which is not exempt from tax as well. So in a way, we actually have a guidelines in terms of the treatment of the developer and also the management body. You also can refer to that as well. So in the first place, is actually everything is taxable, but under section 53A, there is some income being exempt by the law itself, but it's a different things between the e-invoice. E-invoice, regardless of taxable or non-taxable income, there is a requirement to issue e-invoice. And also there is a requirement, if you look at the guidelines that we provide also, there is a requirement for JMB to be registered and also to submit the written form under the section 77 of the income tax itself. So in a way, even though there is exemptions for certain income, but it is not the requirement to exempt this income for the issuance of this e-invoice under the section 82C1 of the Income Tax Act. Okay.
Can we summarize in this way? You know, those participants that in this Zoom meeting, that e-invoice is not mainly aiming on JMB or MC, but is to clear the expenses for those income that generate income from the property that they bought, so that they can offset the expenses. So because it's already recognized that we are this property, we are paying maintenance charges at X amount, sinking fund as Y amount, or maybe we have paid certain expenses for this, and then we offset the income that we get from the rental and the net income that is going to be taxable by the LHDN to on the individual, right? But it's not like mainly aimed like I'm going to tax JMB or MC or RA or whatever, right? Can we say this? Can we
No,
can we explain?
I think we mentioned just now the taxability on the issuance of the invoice is two separate things. So if there is an exempted income, so we won't tax even though you issue e-invoice. That one is clear, right?
Yes, yes. Because it seems that many people, they are not clear. So they are in the fear.
And
So yeah.
and also in terms of the expenses, right? Where if you go buy something and they did not issue invoice for you, and that does not say that you cannot claim that for income tax purposes.
Yeah, we
Okay.
can do the self invoice, right?
Yeah, the self-paid invoice is only limited to the transactions that we have highlighted in the 8.3, the paragraph 8.3. So for example, if you buy something from a shop and then the seller is actually someone who is, I mean, their mandatory timeline has not yet started, or probably they are exempted due to the threshold being lower than 150,000, then there will be no invoice issued. So you don't have to do self-paid invoice for this kind of transactions. You can just use whatever receipts that they have given.
Okay, good. So let's go to the next question. Question number 8. That can JMB, MC, or RA use our certificate number, association certificate number instead of as a BRN? It's like the company registration number instead of company registration number. Can we use our certificate number?
Yes, it is
Question number 8.
number for the registration of TIN if you still don't have the TIN number.
Yeah.
Basically, for the BRN number for JMB or MC or RA, basically the registration number for a JMB and MC, of course, from the PBT, and for RA from the ROS, since they are registered with the ROS. So that's number we will use as the BRN for those JMB, MC, or RA.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, thank you. To clarify again for the deposit from TNB, that the issue in the bill, which is not required for us to issue the e-invoice. Or
Deposit to TNB?
deposit to TNB, Tenaga or the Waters Authority, they request certain deposit from the JMB and MC.
Right, sir. I would like to repeat the responsibility to issue the invoice is on the seller or the supplier itself. In this case, TNB is the supplier and seller. So for the deposit itself, just Ms. Jihan said, if refundable, it's not required to issue invoice for the TNB side. If
Yes.
not refundable, the TNB is required to issue the invoice to the JMB or the MC. So you need
the
to
problem.
the responsibility issue the invoice.
With this, maybe I made it clear, but I know what you mean. But you see, when the TNB issue 500,000 or 300,000 bill as the deposit to the management corporations, and of course, when they have shortage of fund, they are going to call for extra funding. Then it's going to be maybe under the management maintenance charges or sinking fund, we call it. Or what? Not sinking fund or maintenance charges.
It's just levy.
There's a levy, extra levy, but it's going to be recorded in the account that you're going to send for the audit. But the purpose of billing is for deposit. But this deposit request by the TNB might exceed the threshold of the billing.
Yeah, it's the responsibility. In these cases, the supplier or the person who received the money is the TNB side. So the responsibility to issue the invoice is on the TNB side. So in these cases, it's back to the nature of the payment. If the deposit is not refundable, so the TNB is required to issue invoice to the JMB. So there's no issue on the JMB part because JMB is only the buyer who paid the deposit to the TNB.
Yeah. So the deposit, theoretically is refundable, but physically is not. This is the problem that we are facing.
To issue is actually the TNB. In this case, the JMB is the one who make a payment. But the responsibility, whether it's refundable or non-refundable, it is on the TNB. But whatever that they want to collect for any deposit, they will continue to issue. If not e-invoice, they will continue to issue a normal statement. So TNB also can issue the consolidated invoice if the JMB don't provide the information. So they will continue to have a documentation. As we want to make it clear, as Jihan mentioned just now, as of now, there is no legislation mentioned that you need to have every transaction as e-invoice. It is okay if the other party not implement e-invoice yet, they will issue a normal receipt, a normal invoice. They can use the same documentation as well for the record keeping or for the purpose of the tax expenses or for the purpose of the tax claim.
Okay, I think this is clear. So let's go to the next question. Question number 9, are these transaction measures or grace period for JMB or MC to fully adopt e-invoicing? Which means we go back to the 6 months grace period. The 6-month grace period, is it because, from July onwards, everybody will have to get their own TIN number and start to try and error, or we can wait until the 31st of December, the end of the 6-month grace period, only we start to register.
Okay, so the mandatory implementation based on the timeline. So if the JMB need to implement by 1st July based on the threshold, so they will start the responsibility to issue by 1st July. So the 6 month is actually the relaxation period, apply to all industry, apply to all taxpayers. Means that the way, like through the presentations, like Jihan mentioned just now, the way they issue consolidated invoice is more easier. They don't need to
More
input
relaxed.
more relaxed.
More
They don't
relaxed.
need to input the receipt number or the invoice number through the submission of the consolidated invoice. You can just mention like the payment for July 2025 for the submissions as a one line item, include the total amount for the whole month. So that's the way how the relaxations are given. It doesn't mean that the taxpayer, once they implement by 1st July, they have 6 months before they implement. No, it is the time for you to fine tune if you want to have a system integrations or anything else to look at, including the business process to fine tune. But there is no extension of time given for any taxpayers for this e-invoice implementation. So now you still have time. If you think that the JMB is not registered yet, they can do the registration, and then if they want to do the testing, they can do the testing earlier through our pre-production environment. And by 1st July, they should implement as it. So means that if they want to issue the consolidated invoice latest by 7th August, they need to issue the consolidated invoice. At least one consolidated invoice to cover all the transactions happen within the month.
So all participants here, go back and tell the committee member register the TIN number, but not wait for the end of the year, right? So to repeat the answer, the answer for question A, yes, you can use. So let's go to the question number 10. Since JMB MC, number 10, question number 10. Since JMB and MC or residents and RA is formed as a non-profit, and the maintenance sinking fund is not taxable, why does the e-invoice mandatory in the case causing cost overhead to the operations? Actually, this is also my doubts because we are across some other country. Our system is it's been used in the other countries that they only do B2B, they don't do B2C. But Malaysia is one of the very unique that the LHDN will go from B2B straight to B2C.
So it doesn't matter even though it is B2B or B2C, because in these industries, in this JMB, there's no restriction, right, to issue the consolidated invoice. So
Yes.
whatever payment that made by the, like for the house owner, means that you issue the statement or you issue the receipt, you may continue to issue the same documentation. You don't need to change the business process. And then the requirement is actually on the issuer, the JMB. So if the business owner, the house owner didn't request for e-invoice, you continue to issue the same documentation, but you need to issue a consolidated invoice to include all the transactions. So let's say the JMB issue the invoice as a statement. They also have an advance statement, so that one is continued. If you want to issue as an invoice, you can continue to issue the same statement as an e-invoice.
So now part B of the questionnaire, which the accounting transactions, which most of our attendees that they wish to know, which the question number 1, individual e-invoice requested during the current month, right? For example, initially invoice dated 1st of July, on the 24th of July, the owner, they say they want the individual e-invoice. So then the invoice should have a new date of 24th of July or just refer to the original date. For example, because we are going to submit 1st of before 7th of August, right? For the July transaction, the July billing, consolidated as a consolidated report, e-invoice report. But ours, when we issue the 1st of July, the consolidated, everything, all the billings, but there are some units in the middle of the end of the month, they request the e-invoice for the individual unit. So which date should we refer to?
For this kind of scenarios, the first step if you were to entertain the request from the resident, the parcel owner, you'll first have to issue a credit note for that particular transaction from the total amount of the consolidated invoice. Means you must remove that particular transaction first, and then only you issue a new e-invoice for that transaction, and the date will be the current date.
The current date is referred to the 24th or the 1st.
24th. 24th
Because
or
if you issue on 24th, because the late payment interest will be implemented, then it's going to contradicting the current SMA Strata Management Act.
be on the end from the developer's end, right? From the service provider's end. So you shouldn't trigger the interest, late payment interest just because of the date of the
It will trigger, because when you issue based on 24th of July, which means they have another 14 days. So can we just refer to the first billing date, which is 1st of July, instead of, when the implementation of the e-invoice is going to challenge the Strata Management Act?
We cannot
What do you mean by implementing e-invoice with challenge Strata Act?
Yeah, you see, maybe you guys are not aware of this, because late payment interest will be charged based on the billing date.
So you may continue the billing date as what the treatment currently.
1st of July or the 24th of July, if this scenario.
Just
maybe I'll explain to it again.
hold on. I from the question, I understand that you are going to use a consolidated invoice. So the initial invoice will be dated on the 1st of July, right? So if you are to issue consolidated e-invoice, then it will be done by end of the month before the next month, which is before the 7th of August. And then if they request the e-invoice on the 24th of July, you are still able, you haven't issued a consolidated e-invoice at this point of time, right? So you can
you still can backdate to 1st of July, right?
Because you have to understand that the validation is using the current date and time. So it will be using the 24th of July, on the date that you have generated the e-invoice. So it's going to use 24th of July.
So then it will contradicting again to the SMA.
No. I think to make it clear, okay. So if you continue to issue invoice, means that the business on the house owner didn't request for e-invoice. So means that you are currently issue invoice on the 1st July. So the responsibility is for you to issue e-invoice. So let's say the owner request for e-invoice, it will be the date of issuance of e-invoice. Means that you don't issue the invoice yet.
So the invoice date will be the date that we're going to implement as to strengthen the SMA implementation in Strata management. But e-invoice is just the record for the government. Can I say it this way? If we're going to explain that it's not going to contradicting.
Yes, correct.
So which means I don't care whether you are 31st or 2nd of July, when you request an e-invoice, we just follow the invoice that we have already issued. But the e-invoice is for you to claim certain things, or to show that the government that we have these certain expenses that is being recognized by the government, right?
Basically, yes. Yes.
Basically, yes. Yeah, good. Then I hope that all the participants are clear. So don't be messed up by the owners, with this type of questions. So let's go to the question number 2. The invoice is created earlier than advance date, invoice date. There be that example today, billing is okay. The bill is issued today, but we did advance invoice date. Is it allowed? I believe that is allowed. If refers to the question number 1, right?
you can issue the invoice for the future transaction, but then you have to be aware that the date similar to question one, the date will be the current date. It wouldn't be the future date.
Because when the billing period will be April, for example, but the January of invoice will be on the 20th, end of March.
I think this kind of information you can put in the description rather than because the invoice.
Of course, our description is clear,
Yes,
but
but the
we
date of
submit.
the invoice date will follow the current date and time of validation. So if you have any other, for this kind of dates, I think that can be put into the description to give further clarification. When does it really due? But for the purpose of e-invoice, the validation date will follow the current date and time. That's it.
Will follow the invoice date in the question, which is the 1st of April, or follow the today's date. Because this is very important, it's going to change the whole practice of the industry. I'm not scaring you, because it has been used by our clients for more than 10 years, and from our company only, and more than 1,000 sites are implementing this way.
The invoice date will be the current date for the validation purposes. But then Ms. Jihan mentioned earlier that you can put the additional details in your description, and also there's a separate field for additional information where you can key in the frequency of billing and also the billing period, start date and the end date. So
I hope that the LHDN will seriously look into this, because if that to allow all the JMB to bill earlier, but when we submit the consolidated e-invoice were based on the invoice date. I urge that you guys will look into it very seriously.
Once you submit the consolidated invoice, it doesn't stated any details of the house owner. It's just a responsibility of the JMB of the issuer. For the
Yes.
invoice that you issue to the specific house owner is still maintained as it, unless there is a request. There is an issuance of each transaction. It will follow on the invoice.
So can I say we are allowed to submit the e-invoice for this scenario by the month of before the 7th of May, right?
Consolidated, yes.
So we will refer to the invoice date instead of today, the day that they issue the invoice.
Yes, because the consolidated invoice is actually the total all invoice, and you put it as one consolidated invoice. That's your responsibility as a issuer.
Yeah. So property manager, we are allowed to do the earlier day prepare the invoice to send out, but based on the invoice date that the consolidated submission will based on the invoice date. So this is a very good news for the industry. If not, we're going to have another round of headache. It's not we, but the management corporations. They need more money. But I emphasize it again. We are allowed to do the earlier billing, but the submission is based on the invoice date, right? Hello.
Yes, proceed. I think we can move on with this one.
Yeah. So we are allowed to do the earlier billing, but the submission of the consolidated invoice is based on the invoice date.
Sir, I think I need to clarify your understanding for the issuance of e-invoice and normal billing or normal non-invoice document. If the owner of the house doesn't request for the e-invoice itself,
Can you go nearer to the mic, because somebody said that they can't hear?
All right. So I repeat. I think all of JMB and MC is required to understand about the issuance of transactional e-invoice and also the consolidated e-invoice. If the owner of the housing doesn't require the invoices, means that the JMB or MC can issue a normal invoice or normal billing or normal whatever you call the documentation that you submit to the owner currently, and subsequently at the end of the month you need to issue consolidated invoice to the RMM for validation. That's the treatment for the issuance of consolidated invoice. But if let's say the homeowner requests for e-invoice, means that they need transactional e-invoice, you are required to submit e-invoice. Either you can submit based on your current billing period. If, for example, your billing period issued to the home owner middle of the month, so you can issue the invoices during that period, or you can issue also at the end of the month to the homeowner, as long as they have a period to pay to you and doesn't penalty based because of
I doesn't get the LPI, but the problem is not for the owners, because you guys are always thinking of the owners, the end user, but the problem right now is in the on the shoulder of the property manager and management corporations, which they desperately need earlier time to the end of the previous month to do the billing. You come back to the second question is today, for example, today is the 26th of March that we do the billing, and the billing period will be for the from April for the month of April. Then the invoice date is for 1st of April.
Okay. It is.
So maybe I made it clear so that now it's not related to the owner, but it's related to the operator, those people that are going to submit the e-invoice, consolidated e-invoice report to the LHDN.
Okay, actually, okay.
Okay, sir. Can you repeat your example just now?
Okay. You just refer to the question 2, which is, for example, today is 26th of March, we're going to do the billing. Then the billing period is for the month of April. The invoice date is for 1st of April. But we issue the invoice a few days earlier. And the billing date is by...
Your current billing period is when? When you issue the current billing?
Is by 26th of March.
26th of March. All right. So means that when you issuing the e-invoice, for example, the e-invoice to the homeowner for to charge the maybe the fee for April 2025, right? The April 2025 you put in the description.
Yes.
The billing period still on 26th of March.
Billing period is for the April. It's not for the March.
Sorry, the billing issuance date still 26th of March, but the billing period is April 2025. You put in the description.
Yes.
So I think there is no changes at all. It's same as current practice.
Its current practice is we are allowed to issue the 26th of March for the month of April billing period.
The invoice also is the same. You can issue the invoice during 26th of March 2025 to bill the maintenance fee or whatever fee for April 2025 in the description.
We are allowed to do this, right?
Yep.
Okay, right. Okay. Then only but we submit the consolidated e-invoice is by before or by 7th of May.
Correct.
Right.
And essentially, they also have an option. This is just a concession that given temporarily as a consolidated invoice. Later on, we don't know if the government changed the law that everyone need to have an e-invoice for the purpose
No. Every time when you all change the law, we will have to redesign the system and the cost will be on the end user.
Okay,
So
no.
they will start to grumble or they will start to disturb
Sir,
our boss.
let me explain first. Okay, so I understand that you have the information. If there is I mean, like it is more difficulty for you to issue as a consolidated invoice, so you can just use the normal invoice, the normal billing as issuance as the invoice, so it would be one-time issuance only. But it is an option. You also can issue as a consolidated invoice, as mentioned by Jafar just now.
Mhm. So let's go to question number 3. We try to finish up the 10 questions. Is QR code for e-invoice validations in the issue required? Invoice required?
Yes, there is a requirement. If you issue the invoice, there is a requirement to embed a QR code in the validated invoice.
Okay.
The personal responsibility to embed the QR code in the.
I can't hear you. Can you go nearer to the mic? So sorry.
Okay. Yeah. At this juncture, the master room, as the ERP provider, is required to embed the invoice, the QR code in the invoice visual wrap. Unless the JMB or the MC using the My Invoice portal, the QR code will be provided by the RB.
Okay. So the question number 4 is how to do e-invoice to fix for the fixed deposit interest, bank charges, or insurance claim received.
Okay. For this one, for the deposit interest, bank charges will be issued by the bank, and also for the insurance claim receipt will be issued by the insurance company.
Yeah. They will issue. I don't think bank deposit they will issue us, but we have to do the self-invoice, right?
No, there is no requirement for you to do the self-bill e-invoice other than what we stated through the guidelines. So the bank that issue the statement, so they will use the statement as their invoice.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Is the question number 5? Is the management allowed to impose a processing fee if the parcel owner requests the e-invoice?
This
Yeah,
one is
this question I was thinking last night.
this is not our the ground to dictate the decision by the management. It is the decisions of the JMB, MC, or RA for any processing charges. But again, any charges that imposed by the JMB, MC, RA is also subject to the issuance of this e-invoice. Either it's invoice or the consolidated invoice.
Yeah.
But in terms of detail, this is not our view to.
Under your authority, I understand what you mean. So, all those committee members, and you can consider to put the cost back to the owners that will request e-invoice. So, question number 6, how to issue an e-invoice for a joint owner's name if they request?
Okay, so basically we agreed if currently the issuance is under one owner, so you may continue to issue e-invoice using the same owner as well. But if there is a request from the owner itself to have a separate e-invoice, there is a requirement to issue as a separate e-invoice.
So, if they request,
yes, you may continue as usual. Currently, usually if they have more than one owner, the issuance is to one owner or for all the owners. So you may continue.
Yeah, we still can continue. We still can continue as a normal invoice, but the e-invoice that they request only it will be separated out.
Can, yeah.
Right. So that again, the exercise is we have to issue credit note, and then we issue another 3 billings if there are 3 co-owners for the property. So let's go to the question number 7. What is the appropriate MISC code for different phase of the management by the developer, JMB and MC, when issue the e-invoice? How about the e-invoice during transition of the formation period? Which means there are many developers, especially right now, the market is not so good. The developer, I believe that they're going to put into phases by phases for the development plan. So, but all the whole development plan is under one JMB or MC's name. So when you see when the phase 1 is under developer period, Sorry. For example, the phase 1 is under MC, but phase 2 is still under developer period. So there are two TIN number.
Yeah,
After that, the TIN number will match.
actually based on the who are the issuer, based on the TIN number. I think the MSIC code will be the same MSIC code which is applicable to their business activities.
So the developer issue the bill, which means the developer's TIN number. If
Correct.
the MC issue the bill, will be under the MC.
Correct. So they
Yeah,
will
so
their MSIC code.
So let's go to the next. I believe everybody is clear about that. How about the JMB-MC can check the owner's TIN number from the e-invoice? The next question, number 8.
Okay. For the next question is actually because of the concern by the taxpayers, the government is actually already changed the law and make it available by 1st January 2025. There is a search thing can be done through the My Tax portal. So the JMB, MC or RA, they also can search for the TIN number and to input the identification number to get the TIN number. But again, just to emphasize that currently, if the transactions with the individual, there are concession, no need to input the TIN number. You can just proceed with the IC number. But we provide the platform for the search thing. And in fact, if you're using the My Invoice portal, I'm sure that Nick already shared just now, there is also can do the search thing for the issuance once you want to issue the invoice as well. And if you are system provider, you also can do the API call as long you have the details of the BRN and also the registration number to retrieve the PIN number.
Yeah, we are aware about that. So the next question number 9. Any requirement for and features in e-invoice to separate owners and non-owners? Because, okay, let me explain to you the situations. Like if I were the owner, I'm going to rent it out to the tenant. The tenant will pay the utility bills. This always happen in Klang Valley, or I can say is besides Penang states, the rest of the states are affected. Which is, if I were the tenant, I rent it from you, so I will have a separate bill on me to pay the water billing. So is it any requirement for separate e-invoice for one owner or one unit? Which they are not owner, but they are the tenant.
The e-invoice has to be issued by the JMB or MC to the registered account name holder, the account holders.
That's the owner.
Yes.
Without considering whether they are tenanted or not.
Yes.
Okay. So when a specification, a specific guideline on e-invoice for strata management sector is available.
Okay, as of now, we don't have a specific guidelines for the strata management unless you come back with us with a specific question which is only related for this industry. If like, for example, so those are the questions that we discussed earlier, basically it's also involved with the other areas or other industry as well. So we will update through the FAQ and also through the guidelines.
Yeah. So another questions which is faced by some of the JMB and MC right now, which when you implement the e-invoice, it will trigger the whole picture, which is the billing amount is totally different from the audited accounts amount. What is the impact? Which means the audited account, which refers to the income.
Again, the invoice is also
Memang macam ada dua set of account. What is the impact?
What do you mean by
figure.
two different account? What do you mean by two different figures? It should be the right.
It should be by common sense, but by the actual situations, it happens that there are two different amount, which means amount that bill and the amount that capture in the audited account is totally different.
I believe because it can be there will be an adjustment because sometimes when you receive money, right, you don't, maybe you receive it for maybe they pay in advance, or probably there are
It's
some.
not, it's not the receipt, it's not the amount that they receive, but we refers to the amount that they bill.
But then I believe the standard account, the accounting standard, the normal accounting standard will apply. Doesn't matter. I mean, this is actually part of the why we implement the invoice to check the any discrepancies on this one. But I believe in this kind of things, if you have filing at or doing bookkeeping, a regular a good bookkeeping, it shouldn't be too much differences. And then again, we have mentioned earlier that the e-invoice and the accounting requirement is totally different things. You need to do some reconciliations, and if there's a discrepancies, I think it is your responsibilities to actually reconcile this or justify this if there's any event of tax audits or compliance. Maybe if I think Jaafar wants to add some more.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think this one, either e-invoice or not e-invoice is the standard accounting that you need to practice.
Yeah, right.
When you are billing something that's, of course, not only for JMB, all other businesses also will not receive all the monies that you billing to the customer. And of course, in the account statement, you will have the receivable item. So this is the accounting reporting. Then I think it should not affecting the invoicing.
But okay, because all the time it's not trigger because they just take the receivable amount for the audit purposes. But when it comes to e-invoice implementations, then they will have to when they submit, I believe they will submit the billing module, which the receivable and the full set of accounting is a separate things, which it happened. I don't think you believe it, but we have seen it many times.
We didn't
So what
mention
will be
that
the impact?
whatever that you submit as a sales will be all taxable. So that one is continue as a current accounting treatment.
Yeah. So then which means when these two amounts are contradicting each other, what will be the consequences?
That's not the contradicting. If you are referring to the accounting standard, all will everything will be
Malaysia
balanced.
Strata management, they don't have accounting standard. I have to say, so sad to say, there are a lot of strata, they don't have account at all.
And how you do the AGM without the account?
Oh, then you have to ask the minister. Why you ask me? I'm not a regulator.
So I think this is a basic account report
Yes.
where all the
Yes.
JMB and MC required to have a proper documentation. This is also one of the objective of the invoice, to have the JMB and MC to have a proper documentation and reporting of their income. And if let's say I'm the homeowner, and when I'm also always complaining why the JMB doesn't do that, doesn't do this, how about the maintenance fee that I paid, how it goes to. So this is the reporting purposes that JMB and MC to have for the documentation.
Maybe you can.
I believe if with this invoice, it provides clear transparency, so you kind of
Yes.
know
Yes.
the like what you are billing for. So if there's any discrepancies, this kind of maybe it's like it's operation matters lah. It's something to be looked at, something to be sorted.
Yeah.
So I
So
believe
maybe we make it clear we take it out from the JMB and MC What if a company that they have two sets of account and they submit to e-invoice is much lesser than what they audit? So will it affect? Is it run is it run separately, or at the end of the day it will consolidated? It will be consolidated or cross-checking.
I think we are still allowed for any adjustment as long there is an adjustment that you can explain. They will be subject to the. I mean, like if there is a compliance activity, you can just explain about what happened with this adjustment. But based,
But for the long term, because these things has been happened for years.
yeah, I think we still allow for any adjustments. So you may
For the
continue.
next 6 months, or how? Or forever?
As again, we just explain that. But whatever that the issue is actually based on the actual issuance. And if you said that there is an adjustment, they may continue to do the adjustment, and you need to provide the information if there is a compliance activities that been raised by LHDN.
So they will be under another department, then I should say. So anyway, we have finished our 21 questions. So I don't know whether we still have 5 minutes. So whether you all want to continue with the question that they posted in via QR code.
You have a pigeonhole.
Pigeonhole.
Yeah, you can address the question posed to the pigeonhole.
Okay, we can see the questions that answer to the pigeonhole. Some of the questions we already answer, and we want us to repeat again the same feedback for this question, because most of the questions we already answer. Definitely the questions is different, or you still want us to go through every question?
It's those questions that is not mentioned before, no question. Because for us, at least we have the recording, and then we will do a summary, so that everybody will be, we wish that all the participants here will be benefited. And at least they have a clearer mindset what they have to do the next step,
If I look at the questions, the highly voted one is actually the same questions, which is the JMB or MC is non-profitable association. Is there any assumption to implement e-invoice? So as we mentioned, there are two separate things in terms of the taxability and also this e-invoice. Still, JMB and also MC need to implement e-invoice, even though some of the income like the sinking fund and also the maintenance fee is exempt under section 53 of the Income Tax Act.
Yeah, but for I believe that and this is one of our requests that our from the bottom of our heart, because we need a different standard for strata management, strata property management. Because there are many gray area when after implementing, there are more and more, and then the worst part is the density is getting higher and higher. If we never have a very clear picture or guideline from the LHDN, one day as like I mentioned before, it will bring you all down. You just imagine you are facing when you are handling one strata or one company, which means you are handling one company, but you are handling one strata with 300 properties. If 10% of the owners come to you and complain or give you all this query, and just imagine 10 will be 300. And for information, the highest density right now is 6,000 or 5,000 plus.
Okay, we have more than a million taxpayers, but as of now, maybe I can just share this is the direction from the government. If you have
we urge sincerely urge you to look into it.
You can request officially to the Ministry of Finance, and we also sit down with the Ministry of Finance to look at the issue and also the matters that being raised by the association. But as of now, we just to share and also to explain how to implement this e-invoice for the taxpayers.
So maybe can we wrap up this? First thing is I have to emphasize those question number 6 or the joint owner's name. Don't worry, we are going to do a summary and then share in the group. So, but can we wrap it up this seminar or the roundtable? Like the e-invoice from the LHDN is not going to burden us. So you guys will help to work with us closely to help this transition period go smoothly.
Okay.
You may like to adopt the culture of the practice.
Yes.
the Strata management.
Basically, this e-invoice will not change the current business process. They may continue as what they are doing now. Let's say if they are issuing the statement, they will continue to issue the statement. It's just that based on this e-invoice implementation, they will change the invoice into the electronic invoice with the specific requirement. But they may continue to issue the invoice as the current practice as of now. And if there is no request from the other parties, they can issue as a consolidated invoice because the requirement to issue is based on the issuer to issue under section 82C1, which is to issue e-invoice or either consolidated invoice and also the sum.
Sure, yeah. So,
And again,
yeah.
there also an option if they want to use the intermediaries or the service provider to issue on behalf of the JMB or MC or RA, they may continue. But if they want to use our portal, it is also can be used for free for anyone, for all the taxpayers. If you want to use a service provider, they also can check all the transactions through the My Invoice portal as well.
Yeah. So maybe another question is that many people ask about the part B, about question number 6 is about co-owners. Maybe you all can illustrate, like for example, what I understand from your explanation is the normal invoice, we are going to have two sets of report, which is the normal invoice and e-invoice. So the normal invoice, we will still issue to the key person, right? If for the co-owners or multiple owners of the related property.
I think I need to make it clear. If you issue as a e-invoice, so no need to issue the invoice. Means that for each transaction you already issue for it as a e-invoice, so no need to issue two, only e-invoice. That will be your invoice. But if you don't want to issue for each transaction, then can issue as a consolidated e-invoice. Means that you include all the transactions, include all the invoice in one e-invoice to comply with the requirement of e-invoice. So in a way, let's say you want to issue for each transaction, so there is no requirement to have two invoice. Means that invoice, normal invoice, and also e-invoice. It just issue e-invoice.
Okay, so when we talk about the transaction for e-invoice for the individual units, which means the co-owner invoices has to be implemented, right?
Maybe I can make this clearer. So if there is no any requests for e-invoice from the joint owners, from all these joint owners, so JMB or MC they can issue a consolidated invoice. By doing this, you maybe that means you can issue your normal invoice first before you issue a consolidated by the end of the month. So if they actually request for an e-invoice, so they have to mutually agree to which if they want to issue under one team, they need to be mutually agreed on this. Okay, and if each of the joint owners request for this, then the total amount must be apportioned accordingly lah, and separate invoice must be issued to all this to each the joint owner. Okay,
because there are many people, they are very confused because I so sorry because I thought that it's ended the 12 noon, but actually our seminar is ended 12:30. So we have to continue. We have another 30 minutes to ask questions. So for the question number 6, so which means if the owner never requests, even though they have multiple owners or co-owners, so we just ignore it and then issue one e-invoice, right?
You may continue as your current practice.
Yes, current practice, which means is one single owner.
Okay, you may continue as it.
And then somebody mentioned about, because you keep on mentioning that the government will encourage the individual e-invoice issue.
Correct.
Issue the individual e-invoice. What if there's 800 units, but they have maybe 100 unit request e-invoice. So we need to do the consolidated e-invoice for the 700 units, and the 100 units had to be done separately, right?
Yeah, if there is a request, so you need to issue for the individual e-invoice, and the remaining will issue as a consolidated e-invoice. If your system can cater for issuance of this all the transaction as individual e-invoice, is better for you to issue all the transaction as an individual e-invoice, because you have the information. You don't need to collect the information every time you want to issue e-invoice. It's only one time information, so easier for the system to manage. You may continue to issue as an individual e-invoice from the beginning.
So, Christine, I hope that you get the answer. So,
Pigeonhole. We go pigeonhole.
huh?
Go for pigeonhole.
Go for pigeonhole. Is there any pigeonhole question that is not answered? Or maybe if there are too many questions been asked for the too many times that question is been asked, maybe you can illustrate further. People, I believe that they can't get what it means from the answer that you have already shared just now.
Sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, can you refer to the pigeonholes that the questions that been frequently asked? Yeah.
So the next one is actually regarding the late payment interest. So the JMB need to issue for the late payment interest. And then
So is it
property got 3 unit owner. This is also the one that we already addressed.
So okay, you repeat the answer, which is the LPI, late payment interest, or maybe let me repeat the answer that you gave, which is we talk about LPI, late payment interest, which is not related to the e-invoice that date, but refers to the invoice date, right?
Okay, I think we can we refer to the screen of the pigeonhole. I think let us see what are the questions we want to address.
Drill deeper. So, okay, the first question is, JMB and MC is non-profit organization. So, is there any exemption to implement the invoice? This one, I think I believe the answer is no. So, right?
A few times already, and also questions.
Yeah, it's no. We give a summary answer.
The answer is actually differentiating the flexibility and also the invoice as of now. On the direction that the government mentioned just now, there is no exemptions to the taxpayers to implement this invoice, unless we stated to the section 1.6 of this guidelines that, like for example, those with the annual turnover revenue less than 150,000 are currently exempted from
So another question I have missed out, which is, if we have applied the TIN number, do we really have to submit the tax return, even though the tax is zero?
There is a requirement under section 77 to submit the tax return form. So there is a requirement to issue to submit the return form yearly. Based on the income that received. If there's no income, they can just submit zero income for the return form submissions.
Yeah, but every time when the government requests us to submit the tax return, it incur costs. So
incur costs.
So we have to put back the cost to the owner.
Why you mentioned about the cost when you submit the return form and you mentioned that you don't have any income, they can just log in to the My Tax, and the issuance of the return form is actually need to be done online.
Yeah, which means we can submit the tax return without tax agent.
Yes, correct. Mr. I also noticed you mentioned quite a few times about cost. I think the participants today should be made aware that they have the option to use the My Invoice portal, which is free of charge. We are not trying to say that you cannot. We're not saying like API system provider is not good or portal, my invoice portal is not good, but just for the participants to be aware that they have the choice to choose their method of submission. And
Yeah, I agree. I agree. But you provide the service is free, but it requires more workforce to do the work. You see, which is not free. We cannot ask somebody, hey guys, you come and do for me for volunteer charity lah, because we guys are non-profit organization, you know. So actually it incur cost for us. Definitely it will incur cost, not for us, for us as I'm also staying in Strata. So it is a fact, even though you have extra zero income for LHDN, but it incur costs for our service provider. That the service provider will charge us extra. This is the facts that we have to accept.
I think I have a question. Just now say there are two deadlines for tax submission. For those without business income, the deadline for submission is 30th of April. For those with business income, the deadline for tax submission is 30th of June. So what does it? Okay, for those who has only the income from the owners, with no income from outsider non-owners, is considered as a business income or without business income? 100% income from the owner only, no non-taxable. Does it consider as business income or without business income?
this is regarding JMB or
JMB MC lah, the management corporations.
The discussion regarding the invoice is actually
We can't hear. Can you go nearer to the mic?
right?
Hello, sir. I think this one regarding the income tax reporting. And I just need to clarify with all of you regarding the JMB or MC. Not all income received by JMB and OMC is not non-taxable. Other income such as if you have rent some shop lot or you are rent car park and everything is subject to tax. So I need to ensure that all of you are aware that not all income received by JMB itself is non-taxable. Some of it is taxable, and either the income non-taxable, you still required to report in the Form F for JMB, Form TF for JMB, because that's for the reporting purposes. Even though that's non-taxable, you still need to report it.
Okay, I think this is a very practical issue. When we have to submit the tax return by 30th of June, you should know all the Sdn Bhd, all the company, they also have to meet the same deadline. For all the auditors, they have not enough time to cover for the JMB-MC. You know very well the tax audit fee can be earned from the JMB-MC is reduced comparing to the company.
Sorry, sir.
So I think the priority will not be given to the JMB-MC. How can we meet the deadline?
Sorry, for the JMB side, there's no requirement for them must audit their P&L. For JMB itself, they can. That's why JMB have the treasurer. That's the duty of the treasurer for the JMB. There's no requirement for JMB to hire third party to do the P&L. As long as the treasurer, that's why you need to appoint treasurer that have at least basic accounting practice, that they can do some P&L and also the balance sheet for the JMB.
I think this is contradicting from the tax agent. The tax agent are telling us the LHDN only accept the auditor account, not the management account.
And maybe I added on, the SMA stated very clear, Strata Management Act stated very clear, every year we have to present our audited account during AGM, right?
Yeah, so how can we meet the deadline? If you have to follow 30th of June, the whole world also need to meet the deadline. The auditor will not give the priority to us, whether the management account can be submitted or not. That's contradicting with what being told by the tax agents. Yes. I think we have to make very clearly on that.
In fact, this is the facts that JMB and MC as the so-called the secondary priority for many industry. So this is the problem that we're facing. That's why we keep on emphasizing we need a very clear direction from LHDN. And to correct somebody that they said we need the treasurer to be finance background is not stated is as in the Strata Management Act. And in audit process is a must.
Okay, thank you. I believe we've got their point. I think your point is taken very well, but I believe that will be on another discussion because I believe today is going to be a discussion on e-invoice.
Yes. Can we at least get
the submission,
We are not to
deadline,
pinpoint
or
you wrong
I think that
or
one
right.
is already set
We
on the
urge you guys
policy
to.
level. So I guess I don't
Yes.
okay, but
Yes.
we just want to get a
bring that
quick
discussion.
answer.
And
Quick answer.
but let's
Whether auditor
move
account is
on
still
and pick only
compulsory.
the related questions first, probably.
Yeah, maybe we hope that you guys will take this question to your boss and we will have further discussions. Yeah.
All right, continue.
Yeah. I think we can continue on the related discussions first. Yep.
Yeah. To handle the LPI is typically shown in the SOA but not issued in separate invoice. Should a separate EDN be issued for LPI, in the event of a dispute, and CN will be issued in the reverse to reverse it.
So can you
LPI
actually
refers to late payment interest.
Is LPI chargeable, taxable?
So for late payment interest that is being charged, normally the person who charged it is required to issue e-invoice. And if this is already included in the statement, so
Yeah.
I think you can continue doing it because we also accept statement of this as part of the e-invoice.
Yeah, which means you no need to separate issue the late payment interest. Don't worry.
Yeah, everything in the statement. If there is like maybe any adjustment from previous period, you can also include that in the statement as well. And that one can be considered as invoice also.
Yeah. So I believe that the answer is clear and
Yeah, basically
it's
the
very clear.
TNB will charge for the late payment interest to the owner, so they will issue as an invoice.
So maybe we go to the next questions. Got which means if we can say that in this way, maybe I will give the answer, then you correct me if I'm wrong. Which is if you have three owners, if the owner they request, only you issue three e-invoice. If the owner just keep quiet, you just ignore it, right? You can issue a one invoice or put under the consolidated e-invoice, right?
Means that is just not ignore, it's just mean the issue as a current issuance.
Yeah, it is the current situations that we no need to issue to the three owners, right? Unless they request.
Correct.
Yeah. So another one is the pro tem MC. Can we this one maybe I can answer on behalf. You correct me again if I'm wrong. As well as you have the meeting minutes. LHDN will work even though more efficient. We don't need to wait for the COB. They will prepare for us. They will register. Am I right?
Yeah, as a MC, they need to request through e-daftar to register the TIN number.
Yes. So as well as the MC is validated by submitting by you all, we are submitting the meeting minutes, right? For these questions. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So the next question, maybe can I have the next question? Current primary management period or invoice bank account number already registered under MC's name. Strata title is not achieving 25%. AGM can be held. How can developer open text file MC? Then, you have to use the developer's text TIN number, right?
So let's say it's under the developer responsibility yet, so there would be developer team if they have a JMB before the set the MC, so it will be a JMB TIN number.
Repeat the questions. Okay.
Yeah, this same.
So what else? What else? So residents associations.
For the resident association, so it goes by the flow. If the MC is actually hand over to the RA, the resident associations, it will be continued by the RA.
So another one is sinking fund. Okay, under e-invoice is under one consolidated, right? So actually, we come back to the developers period. Actually, it's not developer; it's a transition period in between developer and MC, but they cannot call for the first AGM because of they can't achieve 25% of the owners that already claim back their title, the Strata title. So they have lower than 25%. They cannot call for the first AGM. So can we register team number under the MC, but it's under the developers people who run the show.
Yeah, it's carry the responsibility.
The developers representative will carry the responsibility.
Yeah, because they didn't form the JMB or MC yet.
This one will be a very, very strict question. Who will bear the consequences or responsibility if the error from the e-invoice or non-comply to the e-invoice? Chairman, JMB, MC, or MO? Because chairman is the one that will register under my tax portal.
This one is quite clear. When you have an organization, if there's you have an organizations and there's somebody is actually being entrusted with this kind of responsibilities. So any incompliance will direct to the consequences to whoever has the power to actually do this or the authority to carry out the responsibility. So
the one that will register will be responsible, right? Can we say that?
I believe that is the consequences for the chairman or the Nila.
So it's not related to the MO lah. So okay. If we change from JMB to MC, then which means you will have different registration number, which means we have to register another new team number, right?
Exactly.
Okay, exactly lah. Okay, good. Can we proceed the e-invoice across the board for all parcel owner, even though they have not requested? You can. In fact, the government support it. So maybe we go to the next questions. Maybe can you continue to register, illustrate the TNB one? The TNB one is seems a bit very confused. TNB interest given by TNB, which will be added to the deposit bill. Do we require to issue an e-invoice?
This is the questions that related to the TNB deposit that we have discussed earlier, right?
Yeah, because it really will hit the threshold just for that particular month or one particular month. After that, it comes to normal. Because to manage the common area is the effort of every owner, the responsibility and effort of every parcel owner, every condo unit owner.
I think it is on the self-bill invoice, self-bill e-invoice.
I believe self-bill invoice is not you can't use self-bill invoice for this situation because it doesn't fall for under any situations that we have listed under 8.3. But I just want to understand because I think we have already mentioned that since TNB interest is charged by TNB, so TNB will be the one who's really issuing e-invoice here. So
to the JMB. But the JMB will have to issue another e-invoice to the owner.
No, this not referring to the late payment interest by the TNB. This
Okay.
refers to the interest, the annual interest given
Oh,
back by TNB based on the amount of deposit in the utility account.
okay.
And
That means
TNB will not issue the bill. They will
So
just deposit the money into the account. But
meaning
shall
that
we issue the self-bill e-invoice for that?
so this is
Oh,
like
okay.
the interest income that you receive from putting money as a deposit in TNB. Am I correct?
Yes, yes.
So this so the money will be transferred to the JMB first, and then JMB will transfer it back to the owner.
No, it's
No.
in the it
It's
directly
a
go into the account.
contra only.
Directly go into the utility account.
It's a contra only. Contra the bill.
No, not contra. It's added on to the utility deposit.
Or added on to the utility deposits.
So I believe if there's any interest arise from the deposit put in the TNB will actually if the like I'm giving my example as myself. If I put in the money into as a deposit for TNB and then I earn interest from that deposit, so by right, I as an individual receive the money. If I'm a business, I'll be the one who's issuing e-invoice. But if I'm an individual who's not doing business, I'm exempted from issuing invoice. So in this case, I just want to understand the money will be passed is actually by right who is it who's going to receive this interest income if it's right to
NBMC.
It's not physically, it's just to put into the deposit record that, for example, right now they are paying 20,000 for deposit. Then next year they are given $200. So the deposit will increase from 20,000 to 100.
but there's no payment
Yes, no physical money given,
no physical
but the
money.
recorded.
But again, it's an income for that one, right?
It's income
yeah. Then
without receiving the money.
exactly. You're gonna need to issue invoice for that one.
We have to, which means we have to issue invoice,
Yes.
Self-bill.
self-bill. So will it be taxable? If taxable, we have to ask the TNB to pay us already.
Again, I'm telling you, issuance of invoice is separate from taxability, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
not everything that you issue invoice is taxable. You have to remember that. But
So this
again,
one is not taxable. Can I say this one is not taxable?
depending whether it's actually a taxable income or not.
That one you
That
need
one
to
is
do the
different. Yes, that I think that one is a different rules. I'm saying here that if you're issuing e-invoice, it doesn't mean that we are going to tax on that one. But I believe on this one, right, TNB will need to issue self-bill invoice on the interest that they are paying to them, just like what the financial institution has done. Because like banking, when they when they pay interest, they're gonna do self-bill to the receiver. So I think in this case, TNB will take over this, and then no invoice will be done. No invoice will be issued by the JMB or MC on this part area.
Yeah.
But again, I
But we
really
will do the self-bill,
stress
right?
out. No need to do self-pay at all.
TNB will do.
Yes, the one who's doing it will be TNB, just like what just like the banking, the
Because
financial
the
institution.
TNB is the one who charge, so they will issue the self-bill invoice. And for the JMB or the management company, you will charge for the business owner on the, like for example, the service charge, the sinking fund. So we issue this as an invoice.
No, they are not. They do not charge, but they pay you the deposit, the interest for deposit.
Income. But yeah, but because most of because TNB will take over this responsibility, so there's no need for JMB or MC to issue invoice on this part. They're
I
gonna
understand. It's too new for us, and so far we have not come across any e-invoice issued by TNB for this purpose. Let's say e-invoice is not issued by TNB. Should we need to issue the self-bill e-invoice?
Sorry, sir. First of all, the interest paid by this TNB, basically the owner of the accounts did not receive yet the interest. It's just
normal activity
record.
from the TNB because your deposit been maybe invest or something else that they get the interest from the investment, and then they uh, uh, bring back to the owner in terms of the TNB interest. But this amount still not received yet by the owner. Once you only close the account, you will receive this amount. So at this moment, there is no requirement for you to think about need to issue self-bill invoice or invoice, because this will be done by the TNB itself. And another things that you need to know is about the self-bill invoices. That is not all transaction can be done by self-bill invoices. Only transaction listed under section 8.3 e-invoice specific guideline is allowed for the self-bill invoices. Don't simply issue self-bill invoices for any transaction that maybe not listed under the 8.3 section 8.3 will be basically you manipulating the uses of the self-bill invoices.
Yeah, maybe can you provide us after the meeting what is the content of 8.3 so that we can emphasize to all our members, to all our network, so that they won't they won't burden the system, or they won't simply go and create
This is
self-invoice.
clearly stated through the guidelines. We can share the link as well, the microsite, for you to everyone can download the guidelines and also the specific guidelines as well.
Yeah, because we need to educate ourselves and also our clients as well. Yeah. So what else questions that
Now it's 12:30.
12:30, yeah. Oh, it's 12:30. Yeah.
Okay. I
So
think I just maybe that should be the end. Before that, I just wrap up the whole thing. Maybe we can continue to have a more engagement with the LHDN. We have set up a learning group, so all the participants, even though including those who are not here today, they can be invited to join our learning group. Why we set up this learning group? At least we can gather, we can learn from each other, we can gather all the questions. Then if a certain thing we cannot provide you the answer, then we can try to get further answer from the LHDN. So the Strata Manager Association will be the bridge for us to communicate further with the LHDN. So I think if possible, I think there is also a valid call from a lot of participants. We hope LHDN can formulate a very specific guideline for the JMB MC for those involved in the strata management. I think because of the uniqueness of this industry, you can see throughout our 2 hours session, there are a lot of questions being raised. There are a lot of questions. Some part of the question can be answered, and some part of the question cannot be answered. So I think we really need a very specific guideline for this industry, and we sincerely hope that LHDN can spend some time, if possible, try to roll out the guideline for us before 1st of July. I think 1st of July is very important for a lot of JMB they have to start the implementation. So I hope that so if any further question we can raise later in the group, then we can see how to reach, how to be a medium person, a mediator for us to get further explanation from the LHDN. So I think we also try to engage LHDN again. I think there are still a lot of questions on the tax submission issues, which we need to have a different platform to address the issue. Tax submission is very important. Once the tax file is open, you have to submit your tax return. Okay. I think I think all JMB you have the business income. Okay, so the deadline for your submission is 30th of June, 30th of June of the subsequent years. So you have to close your account by 31st of December for the financial year. You cannot you cannot drag the thing, because I think you have to close the account by first month or second month of the subsequent year, if you want to meet the deadline for audit and also for tax submission by 30th of June. So you have to change the closing date of your financial year, like it or not. If your closing year for some financial year, closing date for some, let's say your closing date for submission, for tax submit, for audit, for financial year is 30th of September, you have to change to 31st of December. All must same, because all these are considered, all JMB, MC, even though you say it's a non-profitable organization, but they are considered as associations. Profit or not, you have to make your tax submission. Okay, I think that's all for today, and we would like to thank everyone for attending this program, and I also need to thank all the officers from LHDN and also our working team who work tirelessly for our program to ensure the smoothness of this program. So thank you very much, and see you again. Thank you. Terima kasih. Jumpa lagi. Nandri Wanakkam.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Okay,
everyone.
bye-bye.